Hello, Mike, my man. It's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Elisha. Thank you for having me. I
Beautiful,
appreciate it.
beautiful, my man. And thank you so very much for being here. And you see, Mike, oftentimes I love to thank my guest for two things. And I do this so often to the point where it has become my anthem. So, firstly, I want to say thank you so very much, Mike, for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform right now because you did invested in yourself. And oftentimes, my man, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. They say some couple of months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, Mike, there was this very tall, unattractive mango tree. And I use the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves were all dry. So I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, Mike, just recently, I was on that same road. And this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree. The mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance, and immediately I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did, and it wowed me. Because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches, and not just mangoes, Mike, I'm talking about ripe mangoes. It was such a lovely moment that day. I was so excited. Here is my point. The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Mike that you are today, that alone has made it really impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you got the request for me to be on the show because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing. Your philosophies, your insight, the impact your work is having, how you're offering your solutions. These stuffs are amazing. And I said to myself, I've got to benefit from these beautiful things Mike is doing, not only me now, but even with the audience. And here we are today with the amazing Mike. So thank you so very much for doing that to yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if you had said nope, there was nothing Elisha could do about it. Thanks so much, my man.
Well, I appreciate it. I really appreciate getting your invitation. I love your metaphor of the mango tree because that's kind of that's who we are. We all change and grow and go through down times and up times, and it's how we manage those things through our lives that make us who we are.
Exactly, exactly. Tough times, I get it. Well, you see, I'm quite excited to have you on the show, Mike, for two reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, Mike, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information, and and not just knowledge now, but the application of it. And you see, my man, ever since I discovered that light in the Hebrew language means knowledge, and darkness, ignorance. I've been so keen to knowledge seeking because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very, very important to me and even to the listeners. And the second reason why I'm excited to have the amazing Mike on the show is for the sake of the audience. You see, Mike, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got a lot of information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, high opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced, Mike, that our conversation is going to be insightful and impactful. So for that reason, my man, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or your professional journey, because right now we are so curious. We want to know how Mike got here. Then afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Mike, my man, over to you.
Thanks, Elisha. Well, my life began in Kansas. I was born in Topeka, Kansas. I still live in Kansas, right in the middle of the country. But my career has allowed me to travel a lot. So I've been a lot of places and learned a lot of things wherever I went. From a professional standpoint, I started out wanting to be in radio and television, and I did that for several years, both in front of and behind the camera, in public radio and then in commercial television for a station. in Topeka, and I did that for about 6 years, and then I had a wonderful opportunity, which we all we all have those moments in our lives where you got a decision to make, and I made a decision that proved to be the right one, and I had an opportunity to get on board with the staff of John Carlin, who was the governor of Kansas back then, 1981. I took a role as assistant press secretary, helped him get reelected in 1982, and then served as his press secretary for his second term. I always call that my graduate school, since I didn't go to graduate school. When I walked down the hill at the University of Kansas, I said, "Nah, I'm good with school. We're good now." But little did I know that I had 11 years of broadcasting and then as press secretary, which was basically the best grad school I could have gotten experience-wise. After that, I ended up working for a PR firm in Kansas City, and a year later went to an ad agency here in Kansas City, where I live now, and started the PR firm next to the ad agency, and then 32 years later, I decided to retire. So it was a good run on that PR firm. We started out as a small local regional public relations firm, but eventually grew into a national firm, really based on two things that we did. In addition to traditional public relations, as most people know it, we also focused in on cause marketing, where we partnered corporations with nonprofits to do good and give back to the community. And we became a national leader in cause marketing when it was still just in its fledgling days, and something that we're all very proud of that we accomplished. And then the other area, the area we'll talk about mostly today, is the area of crisis management, which we always felt at the end of the day was the most important public relations we did. Was when our clients got in trouble or had something bad happen to them, whether they were responsible for it or not, we helped them get through it. And we'll talk more about that later. From a personal standpoint, I've got 4 wonderful children and 8 wonderful grandchildren. My wife and I are enjoying my retirement. Since I'm not fully retired, I'm doing this now. But I passed the baton off at the PR firm right during the pandemic, actually, in 2021, 2020 and 2021. But I wanted to continue offering my services, so I have a couple clients I work with. But my passion really is in the area of helping companies and organizations, not just companies, but nonprofits, universities, schools. Whatever an organization exists, bad things are going to happen to them at some point. Something bad is going to happen, and their ability to manage through it, do it the right way, will allow them to come out stronger and have more respect from their audiences, whether they be internal or external, than they did before that crisis happens. So we created a process back at the PR firm in the 1990s with a client who hired us, one of our first national clients. And they were very concerned about their growth pattern was going strong, and they were worried about whether they were ready to handle a crisis. And it was a restaurant chain. So the one thing I always like to remind people of, if you're in business and you have multiple locations, it only takes one person at one location to do something bad that could reflect on the entire brand, the entire organization. And so we created this process, a very simple process that we put in place with them. And then ultimately we used it for dozens and dozens of other companies and organizations. And then when I retired, I wanted the ability to continue to offer that. So that's what I'm doing.
Amazing, my man. You see, your journey is quite interesting, and I love the kind of heart that you have. That part where you mentioned that you want to help organizations, be it university, companies, navigate crisis. That's a beautiful one, because you see, some couple of weeks back, I had a conversation with someone, and the person was telling me about how a particular organization experienced some very tough crisis, and the stuff ruined the organization. And now it's very, very difficult for them to return back with that beautiful reputation they once had. You know, it bothered me a bit, but I also thought about it just now. If they had come across podcasts like this, or they've come across a solution, it might not have gotten that bad. So now let's now picture the amount of folks who are getting blessed and helped through your solution. That's amazing. So I've got to say, you're doing a great job. Okay, now crisis is a very important aspect of life because just like you mentioned, we are definitely going to go through those period, those tough times. And this stuff even eat marriages, organizations, companies, etc. So my question is this: what is the first step when a crisis hits? Got
Yes. Well, the first step is actually hopefully occurs before the crisis hits, and that's what our process called CrisisTrack is all about. It's to put in place four things, four steps that will put you in a position to when the crisis starts, you're going to be ahead of the game. Because again, if you wait until the crisis hits, and a lot of organizations do, unfortunately, is bad thing. Something bad happens, then they're rushing around dealing with it, and they didn't really have a plan, and so they're and it sounds like the organization referred to was not prepared. The first step is identify your team. So if you have an organization, regardless of the size of it, I mean, if it's a small organization, 5 or 10 people, then it's probably going to be everybody there. If it's a larger organization, you want to pick a person from each of the main functions of that organization to be your crisis team. So you end up with, typically 8 people, 6 to 8 people, and you don't want it to be too large. So it needs to be very focused. You have that team set. Second step is to get that team together and do a couple of things. First step is, and it never fails to to happen, Elisha, it's asking everyone to come to the room and identify all the things they believe could happen to the company that could harm its reputation. And, if you and I are on the team together, you're going to walk in with, a dozen, 15 items from your point of view. I'm going to walk in with 15 items from my point of view. Some of those will overlap, but inevitably they don't all overlap because we each have more knowledge of our area than everyone else. So we can think of things that will happen. But, so all of a sudden you've got a room full of, and I like to use the big charts up, put them up on the wall, because at the end of that process, it's a sobering experience because the team looks around the room and goes, okay, we now know that why we're doing this, because we have 100 things that could possibly happen to this company. And so that's the second step. The third step is we ask that group to take a recent situation they had to go through, a crisis situation, and help march us through the steps they took. Just map it out from the time that it started till the time it ended. Now we have that. Then we say, okay, set that aside. Now let's develop the process the way we want to do it going forward. Because we've learned by the process that they went through, we've learned some things that, some missteps that were taken. There were 3 people doing the same thing at a time. They weren't ready to deliver a message to the media or to whoever. And, chaos reigned. Now we have a chance. And so we just go step by step by step. Now, all crises are going to be different, but there's certainly X number of steps that you're going to take every time a crisis hits. And so now we have that. And then the final step is we go back to our risks that are sitting all around the room, still up on the wall around us. And we go, now we're going to create some key messages so that when a crisis hits, we can instantly have something to say. And as you know as well as anyone, today, it all can happen so fast because of social media, because of the internet. And we're all journalists now with our phones. We all have cameras, we all have recorders, and instantly things can go. So you got to be ready. Now, we don't, as a group, create messages for the 95 or 100 risks, but our team would go back and create those messages. Okay, so now what do you have? Think about it. We know who's going to handle it. We know what can happen. We know how we're going to manage it. And we're ready to say something the moment something bad goes wrong. And we've got a template for what we do going forward. Those are the steps that need to be taken. So now when the crisis hits, you're ready. And that's the only thing, we're just trying to level the playing field. And that's what CrisisTrack's done. We saw it work time and again with organizations of all sizes.
amazing. Firstly, we expect it, then we prepare for it. I got that. So let's talk about pressure.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah, my man. Let's talk about pressure. You see, I saw a movie, I think it was last month, and there was this chaos in the organization, and the leader there, oh boy, he handled it with so much maturity, and he wasn't reacting to the situation at all. I envied him so much. So I want to ask, what is the biggest mistake leaders make under pressure?
That's a great question. I think in general, the biggest mistake leaders, and we're talking about the leader of an organization, makes is to attempt to manage that crisis all by themselves and without a team and not deferring to their team. That team I talked about earlier, the CEO, the head of the organization, whatever their title is, the leader, is not the head of that crisis team. That person appoints someone to be the leader of the crisis team, and that person then is the go-between between the head of the organization and the crisis team. And that's an important distinction because we all know, and especially when in times of crisis, if the leader of the organization is running things, everybody's going to defer to that person. I mean, more times than not. Because if that's what they think we should do, then let's just go do it. Well, it may not be the right thing to do. That's why you have that team there, because you've got all these people with different perspectives about the company bringing into the team. Well, here's why we shouldn't do it this way from my perspective, and let's talk about it, and then we move forward. But if the lead, so I think that's the biggest mistake is the leader decides, well, I need to lead this thing and run it. They don't run the business every day that way. They have a team of people they depend on to make the organization run, like it should every day in and day out, and nor should they make that. So I think that's the biggest mistake.
I got that. So what about this one? How fast should a company respond publicly?
As quickly as possible. I mean, be ready for the first moment. That's why we go to the trouble of developing those 3 to 5 key messages for every risk that can occur. That way, we aren't sitting down at the moment the crisis starts and spending an hour on what we're going to say. We already decided from the outset, here's the 3 to 5 things we're going to say. And so then you're ready. And that way you can, because you've got a lot of audiences you have to think about with an organization. You have to start with your employees. You need to make sure all of your employees and staff are understand what's going on, understand what steps are taken to fix this, so that they have confidence that they're working for an organization or being part of an organization. If it's a nonprofit, it could be the staff, but it also could be the volunteers. Understand that we have a plan. We're going to work through this, and we need you to be a part of solving this. So that's important. That's incredibly important. I think the other thing is that you got this crisis team that is now off managing the crisis. You need a secondary team that's going to pick up the responsibilities of that first team to make sure the organization continues to function, continues to operate, continues to deliver their services, even in the midst of the crisis. So that is the most important thing, is not to let the crisis bring a halt to whatever it is your organization is doing every day to help people. So you've got your employees, you've got obviously your customers. If you're in business, you've got organizations, support organizations, you got vendors that are helping you do your business every day. In the case of nonprofits, you've got your volunteers and you've got your donors who are definitely important during a crisis, because they're the ones that are financing that nonprofit in the work they're doing. And you got to make sure you're upfront with your donors and saying, yes, we have a plan. Here's what we're doing, and you can have confidence that your dollars and your time are going to be protected, validated, and we're going to come out stronger than ever.
Amazing. Oh man, oh man. Now I see why you're so good at what you do. These are very profound words and so practical.
Thank you.
Thank you, my man. Okay, so we have 2 more to go. So what makes CrisisTrack better than other crisis programs?
I think it's the simplicity. And, when we set out, again, we developed this in the 1990s with this national restaurant chain that hired us to do all their advertising and PR. And our main client, the head of PR at this client, is the one who came to me and said, I'm really worried. We're growing so fast. I'm worried we're not really, have a plan in place. And so I said, good, bring your team up to Kansas City. And we sat in a room for 3 days, her team and our team, and managed and developed this process. And when we were done, it was simple because I described it to you in about 5 minutes. It's a team, understand what can go wrong, build a map out of what we're going to do, the steps we're going to take, and have things ready to say right away. So I think that's what makes it different, because I've also seen, in the beginning, I would visit with companies who had crisis plans, and they'd bring out a big, thick notebook, a giant notebook that had pages and pages and chapters. And it's like, who's going to read that? And I'm sure embedded in there was the 4 things that I've described to you. So I'm not sure there's any different. It's just, we said, this is down to its bare minimum. Here's the things you need to do. And if you do these 4 things, you'll be ready. You'll be ready. So I think it's the simplicity of it. And that's what we found when companies, we would be hired by companies who had other PR firms, but they weren't doing crisis. We'd be hired just to come in and do CrisisTrack. And that sometimes was a door opener for us to gain other business as well within that client. But that's what I think appealed to everybody is we said, hey, we need 6 hours of your day. We need one day, 4 to 6 hours to walk through this whole process, and then we'll come back to you with your plan in 2 weeks, and you'll be ready to go. And you have a crisis plan in place. You can go to sleep at night.
Amazing. That's a beautiful one. So to bring this to an end, my man, what would you like to leave the audience with, like a final thought? And to those folks who would like to reach out to you, learn more about the beautiful things you're doing, or they want to open your services or programs, how can that be possible?
Great. I appreciate the opportunity. I think the main thing that I would leave with everyone is this. Understand that bad things are going to happen, okay? They happen to us in our personal lives. We have to deal with them. They're going to happen to us in our professional lives. We have to deal with them. Are you ready? That's my question, are you ready? Do you feel like you're prepared? If you have a plan in place and it's there, that's great. Congratulations. Too many people don't, because it's one of those things that gets put on the back burner. It's like, well, we don't need it right now. We don't need to go through this process right now because we will, we'll wait till something happens. So be ready. The question I would leave everybody is, do you feel like you're ready and prepared to handle a crisis? They can find CrisisTrack very simply at CrisisTrack.com. It's CrisisTrack, CrisisTrack.com. We're actually running a special deal right now for a period of time where they can get access to it for just under $1,000. It's 9 videos where I walk through the entire process in detail, and they can watch those videos. The videos are anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes long, so they can take them at their leisure. But at the end of those 9 videos, they will be able to do the plan themselves if need be. And that's kind of what I wanted to do was bring that. So CrisisTrack.com. The best place to find me is on my LinkedIn profile. And there's a lot of great crisis content on there, some case histories that people can go through and understand companies that have done it well and organizations that haven't, and the consequences or benefits for someone who went through it well. So LinkedIn and all my contact information is there in terms of my email and everything else. So LinkedIn and CrisisTrack.com.
All right, that sounds good. So that's going to be the end of the show, my man. Thank you for coming, and thank you for opening our eyes to this amazing stuff. It means a whole lot, my man. Thank you.
Well, it means a lot to me that you invited me on. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Beautiful.